Hey, good morning. Dr. Bob Flower with our master pattern report. We're actually filming this on Friday the 2nd for the week of March 5th. We're going to be in San Antonio on a program. But we'll be back the following week. Okay, so let's get to a few things here. What the devil is going on with these markets with gold and silver, and with the markets themselves? Seems to be a lot of chaos and confusion, and a lot of things going on in the background. So let's talk about that for a little bit. All right. Today is the second, and we're looking for a down move in silver today on Friday. And chances are about 64% on the downside. March 8th, I'm sorry, today, March 2nd, the S&P, a move on the S&P down. The 5th, there's a 70% chance for the market to move up on the 5th. And then the 8th, again, the S&P, we're looking for a down move. The chances of that are about 65% on the downside. Things look like they're getting a little choppy here. We may see a struggle up to that 1400 level, maybe, but it's doubtful, and it looks like we're going to see that correction that we're talking about. Of course, the two main items that are going to be impacting us during the month of March are the price of oil and this Iranian thing. And you can bet your sweet dollar that the administration is working on something to make them look like heroes. And this may be the only way that Obama wins, is by a war. A very effective one, and not one perhaps where we're not that involved, but enough to make us look like heroes. Which brings us to the price of gas. Okay. Stephen Cho, the energy director, has said that $8 is about right for the price of gas, and he also, before Congress this week, has said no, that they do not have something in place, a program in place to monitor and effectively level the price of gas or reduce it. I think it's pretty obvious at this point what's going on here with this. The administration is so bent on alternative energy that what they're going to do is they're going to help or allow, one or the other or both, the price of gas to elevate itself to that $7, $8 level so that alternative energy looks reasonable. But I'm going to ask you this question. If oil goes to $7, for argument's sake, not even $7.50 or $8, and alternative energy is at $5, $5.50, $4.50, is that good for us? Is that something that we can live with? I don't think that $4 a gallon of gas is going to induce any recovery in the marketplace. It's certainly going to help the common guy or anybody, business. This is going to kill business in the long run. However, things are numb. People are numb, along with our politicians. And if you look back in history, there's some corollaries here that you should become aware of. For instance, did you know that in ancient Rome, towards the end of the empire, the emperor passed a law that said that if you were a son of a storekeeper or a profession, a cobble maker, shoemaker, leather worker, something like that, that you were, it was mandatory that you follow in your father's footsteps. That you had no choice, you could not do anything else but to aspire to that particular trade. Okay? And it's sort of where the old-fashioned European concept of following my dad's footsteps came from. Only it was mandatory then. Well, we're kind of getting to that state of mind here. People are numb. Uh, they're getting hit from all sides. They don't know what the hell is going on. They have no way of recovering, no way of making money. I'm don't feel sorry for rich people, but I'm going to tell you, even a lot of my wealthy friends are saying, 1% return. What the hell are we going to do with our money, for Christ's sake? So they got different types of problems, and people say, well, we should have that problem. But if you're living off those dividends and you have a different type of lifestyle, well, it's something to be concerned about. Certainly not compared to somebody who's struggling to put food on the table. However, what we need to do is to be diligent. I would suggest that for those of us who are confused and looking for direction, go back and read some of the personal works of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, Ben Franklin, and look at their philosophy. Look at what they were espousing and how they were living their lives at that particular time, because I think it's a good model for us to follow. I mean, certainly times were more dire in those days because it was a brand new republic and it was an experiment that nobody knew was going to work. Well, it worked so damn well that now the liberals are taking it over and trying to change it altogether. So I suggest that you try that. You may find that very informative. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about politics here. Okay, it's very apparent that if the present administration can't get things done by legislation, which they're having a lot of difficulty, then they're going to do it by regulation. And their biggest weapon is the EPA. This is a very, very dangerous precedent. And I'm telling you that, and this thing with oil and gas is something that's going to bring riot in the streets. You don't do this to people. I mean, they are so out of touch. And I'll say this again. I don't care whether you like Obama, whether you like Santorum. There has never, ever been a successful president that was a senator. Okay? The closest that came to it was Jack Kennedy, and even he had bitter struggles with Congress. Okay? We need to have people who are in touch with the mechanics of the free market. The other person that you may want to read about, very interesting individual, was Adam Smith, the invisible guiding hand. That whole concept and principle, how it has lasted and grew this country in so many great ways, which is now being overcome again by the mandatory liberal mindset. Okay, and it's, we know better than you what's good for you and how to get things done, instead of leaving it to the graces and power of the universe. This is a direct insult to the people who sacrificed their lives and their careers to the development of this country. And we are now in the state where we are fighting for our very character. And if you don't think it's that desperate, you're sadly mistaken. And I'm not an alarmist, but I am a futurist. And I can tell you, I can see very clearly where we're headed, and we're practically there. In fact, this election will tell us if we are there. The only thing that can save us this election, if in the event that Obama is reelected, is if the House and the Senate are taken by the Republicans, so that we have a balance as to what's going on. But even then, we're going to have problems, because it appears that our president is leading us down a path of totalitarianism in the respect that we're losing law and order. He's definitely defying the Constitution in many ways, and there are lawsuits being undertaken. Of course, we've got the health care, so I'm not going to talk about that until that case is done. And when it's done, it's done. Perhaps a new way of funding that. And this constitutionality of whether which comes first, church or state, and the sovereignty of the individual insofar as church is concerned. I see the merits of both situations, but the fact that he's going up against institutions that have been the underpinning of this country for 2.5 centuries is absolutely ridiculous. And I don't care what you say, the rights of people are, that's true. But there are also institutional rights that have been there for a lot longer than these contrived rights rather than privileges, okay? So it's clear that you cannot violate these rights. And by passing laws that says that's okay, that doesn't make it okay. That makes it a bad law. So we have this conflict. What's bothering me is nobody is moving in the direction of ameliorating this whole situation. Certainly the president said that he was going to bring everybody together, and that's the furthest occurrence that we've seen in 3.5 years is he's fought to separate, use this 1% and 99% and the rich and the poor and all that. The only person that seems to be moving in that direction, well, there's two, Ron Paul, but I don't think, unfortunately, Ron Paul has a shot. He may end up being Secretary of the Treasury if Romney gets in, by the way. Santorum has that value-based concept, which is good, but then again, I don't know how strong he is on economics and development. So he's kind of weak. And Romney, unfortunately, the problem with Romney is well, he's got this notion of the Mormonism, which people I think grossly misunderstand. But it is hanging over his head. But I don't think that's the main thing. I think the main thing is that people view Romney as a organization man, a party man, okay? And that they're so far above the reality. Every time I look at Mitch McConnell, I shudder. I like what he has to say, but he just doesn't look like a representative of the guy on the street or the small businessman. So Karl Rove, the same thing. I like what he has to say, but he's strictly a party guy. And that's not what it's about. It's about being a country guy. It's about being for our country, putting that first, not putting the party first, not putting ideas that are limiting. And once again, if you and I'm going to push my books. If you read any of my books regarding the laws of potential, and you recognize how absolute they are, you can very readily see how these people are violating virtually every main principle of the law of potential. Okay? You can't take rights away from people and say that they're going to grow, because you are naturally restricting them. You have to give people open rights. You have to give them as much power in themselves in order for potential to develop. Because the potential is not going to develop from the country. Countries tend to reverse themselves when that happens. Russia, socialism. Look what's happening in Europe right now. Why do you think Europe is in such a mess? It's been so great for so many years. Well, it catches up with itself. Okay, and I propose to you that the only reason that Europe didn't tank 150 years ago was because of the United States and the development of the United States. And everybody there came here, or at least fed off of what we had here. So here we are. We're going backwards. We're we have restrictions on us that I mean, if anybody said 6 years ago that we were going to see restrictions that we see being induced by government agencies, local, state, and federal, I would have said, "Oh, you're crazy. There's going to be riots. There's going to be anarchy," and there will be, and that's coming soon. You can bet your sweet life on it. You know the Mayans say that the world's going to end on December 21st of this year. Well, it may not end, but boy, it's going to be one hell of a mess if we don't get our crap together here pretty soon. So what we need to do, what I suggest is, look, go out and get on Google or whatever, buy some books, and read about the founding fathers and what they had to say about the Constitution, about the country, about the problems that they were having then. Read about Adam Smith, and then look at what his philosophy has done economically towards the development of this country. And I could tell you that in my books and with Natural Intelligence, one of the hardest problems that people have with it is letting go and letting so-called outside forces rule and just follow rather than try and manipulate things in yourself in life. And that's where we get in trouble, and that's where fear and ego and ignorance and self-deception come into play. Okay, we don't know how to trust, right? And it's a methodology for those in power who espouse to being the saviors of us, are using to take advantage and to change the nature of the country. And we're changing. I mean, look where we're going. We're going towards socialism. In some cases, we are already involved in fascism, and hopefully not, but right into communism in some respects here. So, and it's up to us. It really is. You know, we've talked about different ways of getting these bastards in line, and I'm in favor of trying any and every one of them. I hope that everybody is going to fight and not give up and make their voices heard. You know, if everybody turned around and were able to activate and convince one person next to them, you got an awful lot of people that are fighting the same fight, fighting the good fight. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed today because it was. But anyway, listen, I'm going to be in San Antonio next week. We'll be back the following week. If there's anything new, we will do an interim report on our website. Go to our website because we got charts there. We got explanations of some markets there. We have a few new things that we're working on. We're working on a video series, an action-packed video series that's going to be coming out probably this summer, maybe this fall. A lot of things that relate to you and what's going on all around you. So, this is Dr. Bob, and you have a great week. See you soon.